not too long, brief program, I hope, of sharing music, and everybody hopefully will learn a little bit more than they knew when they walked in the door here, and just kind of celebrate being a family. I know that was very important to my mom and dad, that everybody, the circle would be unbroken, that everybody would stay together and stay connected, and honor that family heritage that we all share.
The question was turtle. All three girls lost their dinner. Even though he was 70 years old at the time, he still laughed until tears came into his eyes. Another story from my dad's perspective has to do with his dad, Robert Vaughn, was at Bible Rock Camp, and the cowboy had a horse that he let him ride. The horse was very spirited, and just as he started off, David's heels kicked the horse, and the horse took off like a shot, and Dad dropped the reins. The cowboy saw the trouble, called the horse, and grabbed the reins, and calmed down the horse. Grandpa David was white as a sheet. His response was, "Did I ride him too fast?" The one story that might be familiar to you has to do with Bill Vaughn, who told this story himself. Apparently Grandma and his mother had put some buns out to cool in the window. Stanley was home from work and asked Bill if he would steal a couple of buns. Bill put soap in Stanley's and butter in his own. When Stanley bit down on the soap, Bill ran to the barn, climbed the ladder, and dropped down in the hay. Stanley was right behind him, headed for the house. "Mom, Mom, Mom!" Just as Stanley caught him, Mom rescued Bill. That's it.
Before we do the song, I do want to relate the hunting thing. Probably a word accident. My Uncle Bill took me hunting for my first trip when I was 14. It was during World War II, and we climbed up a ravine to get to a notch in the ridge. And while I was climbing, I saw this buck down there. And I didn't realize he was about 500 yards away, so I hauled up this short 30-30 that he'd loaned me, and I let go, and I thought I was just really firing away. And the deer just turned around and went the other way. Bill got up there to where I was, and he said, "You know, you started firing a little early." He said, "The other thing was that those other 4 shells you just kicked out of the gun, picked up the 4 pieces of ammunition that I had popped right out of this gun." So that's the way I hunt. Anyway, we got a couple songs. I think we got one. Yeah. And these are songs kind of from the Depression era, back around 38, 35, 40. And I learned these from relatives. I can't remember whether it was on the Vaughn side or the Rice side. But they're kind of cute. We thought we'd share them with you. And the first one is about guys that left their families because they didn't have a job, couldn't find work, and didn't feel like it was right that they be a burden on their wife and children. And so they would leave, and the family would get welfare. If they stayed, the family wouldn't get welfare. It's that sort of thing. So they hit the road, and the common term was bums because they didn't have any money. And it's very much like the homeless problem we have today, only probably quite a bit worse, because there was 40% unemployment. 4 out of 10 people could not find work. It was not a good thing. Anyway, this one goes like this. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a hand up to revive us again. Now I don't like work, and work don't like me. and that's why it causes so much misery. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, get his hand up to revive us again. I went to this house, I knocked on the door. She said, hello, Mr. Bum, you've been here before. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, get his hand up to revive us again. Now another old song. And these guys that were hunting for work, they all felt like maybe if they got across country, they could find a job. Jobs were just as bad in the West Coast as the East Coast, or the South as the North. But they didn't really know this, so they would ride the railways. They'd jump on the car as the railway was leaving the station and hide in a boxcar until they got to a town they wanted. They'd hop out when it slowed down to stop. And of course, the railroad police didn't like this, and they would really rough them up. Now, I'm talking about hit them with clubs and roll them out of their car while the car was moving 30, 35 miles an hour. And so there was a lot of bad feelings. And this song expresses some of these bad feelings.
In terms of the location of where you grew up.
Oh, yeah, we grew up around Wenatchee. I think my earliest recall was up in Twist. My dad was working for something like less than $1 a day, bringing cows in to be milked at night and milking them, and then getting up early and getting the cows out in the field again. And along with that job came a couple of fringe benefits. We had a cabin for free and a cow, as I recall. Wasn't that right, Jim? Yeah. And so we had milk. We had all the milk we could drink. And we didn't know we were poor, you know? But there was nobody else much richer. So anyway, this is a song about the railway and the feeling of the bums towards the rails. Oh, I could work on the railroad instead of digging a ditch. But any kind of railroad man to me is the son of a gun. Now I could be an engineer and never have a wreck. But any kind of railroad man to me is a pain in the neck. Or I could ride in the Pullman as quick as I could step in. The stuff they put in the Pullman seat, it tickles my sense of chin. And I could have plenty of money and eat till I got fat. But then I lose my early short. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Sorry, I didn't think of it.
And I think there was one story about how your mom would hire some of the people from it.
Have this knock, and that was little. They would knock on your door because we were within a half mile of the roundhouse, and hop off the trains. And they lived at a place called Bum Jungle down on the Columbia River. Some people from Wenatchee know where that's located, and most people don't. But they would walk up maybe a quarter mile, half mile to our house and ask for food. And Mom would give them the chopping axe and point to the stack of wood and be split. And they'd split wood for 20 minutes, half hour. And by the time they were done, she had some soup or something ready for her food. And that was our relationship with bums. We never saw them rob anybody. Nobody ever hit us over the head. They just needed help. Anyway, this next song is something that you would not hear normally. The reason you wouldn't hear it is it's not polite speak. It has to do with ethnic relationships and considerations. But we heard earlier a conversation about Israelis, and this is about Israelis. And this guy has a problem. I'm going to show you. My wife, she's fond of chicken soup. Don't now, she won't you be a coup.
Build it in the cellar where the chickens can scratch. If the rooster knows the business, as the chickies gonna hatch. Come the next morning, and what do you think? The water pipe busted right under the sink. 41 chickens in the cellar are dead. If they'd have been ducks, I'd been ahead. Oi, I'm an unlucky Hebrew. 41 chickens to make a fine stew. Tell me, what would you do? Oi, oi, that's no lie. The other day, a fella came into my store to buy himself a coat for $1 or more. I asked for the money and he started up to run, so I hollered for the cop or to shoot him with a gun. How come he started for to shoot him in the spine? I said, shoot him in the pants for the coat, she's mine. Boy, I'm an unlucky Hebrew. You couldn't sell a coat mid hole through. Tell me, what would you do? Boy, boy, that's no lie.
The name of the cow, I understand, was sauerkraut. I was 3 years old. I don't remember that.
Okay, next, Wesley has something to share.
My dad's name was Alfred Tennyson Vaughn. He was the last of 9, and they get a little short on family names came around to him, so Grandma named him after her favorite poet. He ended up living up to that. But it turns out that poetry's been an old tradition of the family. George Hand and Cornelius Vaughn did some poetry, and it's all come down through the family of other various family members and poets, and so that's pretty much in the family tradition. I'm going to recite something, then I'll read something else I wrote. First is a tribute to these, and this is the first verse of a song. I'll say it instead of singing it, but it's a final prayer, and the first verse is to Dad. My father was a good man who lived a godly life. He was a loving husband to his cherished wife. He anchored every day in God's holy word, and he taught his children to love and to serve the Lord. He loved to serve his church and his community, told others of the victory, how Christ could set them free. He lived this life of faith until he passed away. And when I think of him, this is what I pray. When at long last, by his grace, I'm called up by my God to stand before his blessed face, when I have left this sod, may this earth be a better place, because here I have trod. This poem here is The Last I Saw Dad. The last I saw Dad was today in the mirror. He looked as he had 30 years before, for there in the mirror the image I see is his, which has always been showing to me. So I bear this image wherever I go, as those who knew Dad always let me know. And just like a shadow, so often I find that I ever fall 30 years behind. Dad's time to pass came just a decade ago. Yet I still see him each day here below. This image deters me from things that disgrace, for it is my dad that I still have